putting yourself online is like whatever bad karma you're unaware of in your life. You know, the cosmic karma, the thing that you hoped you were worthy to be or live as. And it's not that the internet, people in the public are mean or just make something up, but it's like that they confirm your worst terror about, you know, something like not being worthy or not being worthy. You know, I should just get onto the Zillow, but I feel like a streamer's job is just to tell you how they feel. So just a little bit of that. We'll just look at Aspen again, since it's such a ridiculous housing market. Everything looks like an average of 15 to 20 million. Astronomical, really, because, well, a lot of things flash into my mind. My mind goes in 10 different directions when you talk about the actual economy, what's wrong with the economy, and it's really like the monetary system itself. So the how simply or quickly could I put it, that when people were exchanging early on, they were exchanging like for like the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, exchanging things. People eventually would settle on grain as a medium of exchange, like a unit of like whether your trade is over or under. So people are just trading goods for goods, trading labor for goods, trading goods for labor. And then if something was not an equal trade, if I can't work all day for an ox, you might do grain, because that can be incremental. The problem with grain is that it could be more of it created, or it could rot. So eventually people, and this happens in different cultures around the world in different times, it really became established about 3,000 years ago, but people using the gold, the metal, mainly gold and silver, as money, because it just has that property. Not only is it useful, but it lasts longer. And I'm getting to the reason why we have houses like this one that are $23 million. This one's 5,500 square feet, but you see them for like 2,500 square feet here in certain places like this in Aspen. Anyway, getting to it, working my way there. The reason is because people are trading, people are exchanging. Gold becomes a good storehold, and silver. Silver is a little bit easier to pay for day-to-day items with. Gold is a bit more for bigger purchases. You can't do a teeny tiny little speck of gold to pay for a meal, but whatever a silver dollar amount is, like if you get a silver dollar from the mid-50s, that so-called silver dollar is still silver. A lot of them from like the 60s, I believe, or 70s, definitely onwards, were not silver, but that's the reason. It's something that will last through time and can be incremental, and it has the need into the future. So when people are exchanging, it's very simple, so that it would be used into the future. And what eventually happens with that, eventually you get bandits, you get thieves, liars, cheaters that will steal from you, steal people's gold. And there are whole wars fought over it. There are whole civilizations destroying other civilizations. If you look at how Spain came into Central America, South America, and destroyed basically the whole continent. Some argue that it was because they were savages, but really the motivation is gold. The motivation is free labor. And I could get to that too, labor being underpaid, though I'm no communist. So now we're getting to the class of people that own these houses and live in Aspen, because there's a certain class. Like, you have people, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, the people who labor. People still make food. People still do dishes. People still walk dogs just like they did 5,000, 2,000 years ago. They're still doing it today. But the medium of exchange and how we got to where we are now is because we have that working class, people who work, people who do things. Below that are not because they're poor, but because they are lowlifes, nomads, people who can't make it honest, and they get their daily bread by lying, cheating, stealing, scheming. And then the elites too, the people way above, get their power. It's much more to be a parasite on the top than it is a bottom feeding parasite. You can get a house like this in Aspen, but the way they got it is because these people are out there. They see this economy, they see this exchange, this value, which comes from exchange. A proof of that would be like in this home that I'm in now, there's some junk laying around. I had a guitar here for a little while. You might have a snowboard. So I might exchange that guitar for your snowboard. Because maybe I'm going to Aspen area and I want a snowboard. I've never snowboarded. Maybe I would be a great snowboarder if I never tried it. And same with you for the guitar. And this is the case with all the junk in everyone's basement and everyone's garage. It would be more valuable in someone else's hands if it could be exchanged. So certain things, if the exchange can be facilitated, especially with low friction, like a free and fair marketplace, you're able to get value, gain value, build things, build more and more things, see what the market wants. Maybe I find out there's a huge need for a guitar because I get a lot for that guitar, and then I find a cheaper, better, faster, higher quality way to make guitars. So this is that foundation of the economy. It's really nothing else. When people talk about being poor and not having enough and being oppressed, it's people make things, and it's not nothing. We shouldn't scoff at the fact that people are able to make things and make good things. We didn't always have nice things. It's easy to get really complacent and just be the fish in the water and not know what the water is and take it for granted, which is one thing, but then to openly be full of hatred at the world, the modern world, though there's a lot to hate about it, but to not be grateful or have perspective, and then for you yourself to build things and do things. It's really always been this parasite class, not necessarily everybody in Aspen, but they're definitely benefiting from this manipulative, exploitive system. So I hope I've established people exchange things, people build things, people are storing their excess trade in gold, and knowing that that's going to be valuable in the future, able to exchange it in the future. What happens now? This class of people and the high class white collar criminals and the low class parasites and bureaucrats, these are people who cannot do something that you would voluntarily give them something of value for. You, the viewer, would not do it. Whatever your belief about about fairness in the economy, or how you feel about whatever socioeconomic factors. Let's just keep things atomic and keep things simple. So what happens is this parasite class, they find out ways to create wars. They find out ways to steal from you when you're not home. We're talking about your gold. We're talking about your silver. Okay. When your gold and silver are getting stolen, you go to the government. The government puts it in Fort Knox. You go to the bank. The banks put it in their big vaults with their armed people. And you even see that big vault when you go in to maybe half the banks you've ever had an account at. You see that gigantic vault, and you feel good, you feel safe that your things of value are in there. They give you pieces of paper for you to come and redeem that gold and silver. And this sounds like olden times, like crazy talk. Why are we redeeming this silver and yellow rock for pieces of paper? Well, it's because there is a backstop. Having the money in gold, in silver, in a finite, scarce, very difficult to get more of, create more of, inflate the quantity more of, ensures that other people cannot come in and have a claim on your labor. Like you trading your snowboard for that guitar, if someone is able to come in with some counterfeit piece of guitar and get a piece of that trade, that's the best analogy I could use for that. Or trading grain, trading something that you know is valuable, or increments, or the medium of exchange. They can't just, as the exchange is happening, reach and take 20% of it or 10% of it. But the fact that we have the certificates in that vault, in the government, Fort Knox, in the bank, which is what a dollar bill used to be, and will be again. It's actually something that goes through cycles of collapse. If you've seen the price of gold, it was like $1,300, then $1,500 not too long ago, like even during the COVID era inflation, that price of gold was not doing anything outrageous. And if you look, early 2026, time of filming this, gold is hit $5,000. It's like quadrupled during that time because it's finite, because it's universally understood as a store of value, of medium of exchange in the future. Because everybody knows, and everybody knows that everybody knows, that the gold is the default world type of money, then it just crashes back to it. You think the price of gold is going up, but it's really your dollars that go down. So the reason that happens, I'm a little all over the place with this, but in this circular way that I'm moving with all of this information, maybe you get the point. The point is, we are in that end phase where the certificates redeemable for gold, the certificates redeemable for silver, eventually the bank runs out of gold. They run out of silver. They know that not everybody is coming to redeem it. They know that they can keep more certificates going in circulation on claims for more gold than they have. And these banks compete with each other. These dynasties compete with each other. Eventually, they collateralize all their gold, kind of like FTX. If you know the FTX case, when Sam Bankman-Fried had Bitcoin, and then he was using a different account for his trading, so-called trading, gambling, and he had to put the Bitcoin up. That's exactly what has been happening for more than at least 3,000 years with gold, with the people that you're trusting to have the gold with. So the bank, after that time, when they run out, if Sam Bankman-Fried was big enough, if he was a real bank, like these banking dynasties, I don't know if I want to say their names, if the algorithm will down rank me if I say their names, but you know their names, starts with an R. They were in those files that came out recently. Other name starts with an E, J-E. So you know how the algorithm is. Anyway, they run out of the gold, and then they go to the government. The government and the banks are all friends together. They're all hanging out at Aspen, and they say, make the money fiat money. Make it backed by nothing. Make it backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government and this war machine that we have all over the world, manipulating the political systems, keeping people friendly to dollar hegemony. It's called the petrodollar, and it is, you could call it proof of war or proof of weapons, the proof of weapons network all over the world. It's the reason why Libya, Gaddafi, among other things, why certain countries end up on the wrong side of an arsenal of the U.S., among other things. But that's basically what the U.S. exports. It exports two kinds of paper, U.S. dollars and treasuries, U.S. debt. It also exports some really good chip designs too, and a few other things. I'm not a total doomer, not a total pessimist, but it's just a cycle. We're just at that end of the cycle. So what does this have to do with houses costing a regular house in Aspen? Like even this is a more regular house, $19 million for this one. Zillow is very slow in the evening about this time. I guess a lot of people are looking at Zillow. So when we get near that end phase, which we are in, and it doesn't mean the end of the dollar is necessarily near, but these end eras that we're in, which could last, who knows how long they could make it last, but the money has not been attached to anything. When there is a problem, they just create more money, give it to the government, give it to the banks, give it to people, the people closest, people who own assets, get that money first. I think something like most of the stocks, I know it's more than 90% are owned by a very small amount of people. So when new money is created, that money goes into assets that a very small group of people own. And the last thing those people want to hold is money. When new money is being created, what do they want to do with that money? They want to put it into something valuable. So they put it into a housing market like the housing market of Aspen. I don't know why they can't build outward from Aspen like the regular market is not working here. Not only because they can't build outward, I guess that would kind of destroy some of the good properties of the mountain ranges. But this is they call like the progressives like to call things a market failure. The fact that we have the city of Aspen in this insane condition where these houses should be like a house, like look at that house right there. These houses should be like $120,000, or with wages, what is the average person who like has a regular job that's like fairly skilled, like $60,000? They should be able to pay off a house like this within like, I don't know, 4-6 years in a mountain town out in the middle of nowhere, not really near an industry like this. But it's hard to say. So the distortion in the market, the distortion is with the fact that they have to keep creating more money, because the money is created and then loaned with interest. And whether money gets paid back, that reduces the amount of money in circulation. If people stop circulating the money and people cannot service their debts, they need to create more money as well. So they do that. They're actually doing that right now. They didn't call it quantitative easing. They're calling it something else. What are they calling it now? Resumes. See what I'm typing there. Federal Reserve resumes QE, but calls it, what are they calling it? Reserve management purchases, balance sheet expansion is what they're calling it. They just call it liquidity that needs to be injected into the system. So this is why your groceries cost more, housing, food, cars. It's not necessarily that the rich people took the money. Rich people don't really have money. They don't like money. Money's like a hot potato. They're involved with their banks. They get involved with banks in order to borrow against what they have. Like maybe they have stocks. They borrow against the stocks. And then they borrow to service the debt for a house like this. And because it's a debt, because it's a loan, they might even be able to get these mixed up with like trusts and companies that get very low interest rates or work through their companies. You don't even want to know all the details of how it works. You just know that they are getting all of the benefits of the new money that's being created, okay? And you get all of the negatives of that new money being created. And it's the same way that it works with the easiest way to think about it is if a counterfeiter, like say they're not, but if they were, even though they are in spirit, like a counterfeiting operation, if it was happening only in this small area in Aspen, like what would happen to that money that you are using, your boss, your paycheck, your customers, that company you work at, the suppliers, the utilities, everyone is using this money to exchange. Now, if out here in Aspen, out here in Colorado, they were able to counterfeit millions and billions and trillions of dollars, like literally counterfeiting it, obviously they get to buy whatever they want with that. So they take that counterfeit money hits the market first, the market of money, the market of houses, of farmland, of chocolate, commodities, gasoline, cars, concert tickets, computer memory. And that money is being introduced into the supply. It's getting a claim on all these goods. So the goods are finite, but their money is infinite. And you even see it at the Do you know your bank, your dollars, your like pull out a dollar or a $20 bill, and it says Federal Reserve note. You crypto people already know this, but man, people say Twitter or X is good now. It's worse. It doesn't work most of the time when I try to search for something, or even when I'm going in here to settings or this other stuff. It does not work. But this guy saying that there's an infinite amount of money.
Safe. Your banks are safe. There's enough cash in the financial system. And there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. An infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
There's an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. I got to pause that before that music causes a copyright claim. But you might know this. The crypto people out there know this. Look at that guy. Look at that. He looks more angry than I do, or than I am. Remember I was talking about this class of the parasites? Creature from Jekyll Island lays it out. I don't know why I feel so compulsive about this. It's not everything that I get, worked up about, but I don't know, I just thought I'd go down this jag and talk about these things. Just looking at Aspen got me into the topic. Founders of the Federal Reserve. So, a bunch of rich parasites, their friends, they have the game rigged. They're a bunch of bankers. It's like other stuff that's coming out in Congress. They would be criminals if they weren't too powerful. But these people, they're the ones who are counterfeiters. Counterfeiters stealing from you. Not only counterfeiting, but loaning the money with interest, and then collecting interest, and then using the collateral from it to, repossess your home or your car if you don't pay it back. Creating that money out of nothing, giving it to you to go to college with, and you're not able to discharge or go bankrupt after that debt, and then it comes out of your Social Security at age 65 if you don't pay it off. But maybe I got a little too in the weeds explaining it. Okay, let me try to walk through it real speed run. Okay, people are exchanging things. Forget about the haves and have-nots. Just think about people who are working and people who have things of value, people who are exchanging things. They cannot exchange an ox for a candle. They don't match. They can't. That doesn't facilitate exchange. They do grain. They're exchanging grain. Okay, that's better. That could be incremented. Give me giant bags of grain and the candle. I'll give you the ox. The grain doesn't last long. The grain is not finite. The grain will not retain its value. Let's do gold. Let's do silver instead. Okay, the bandits are appearing. They want that gold. They want that silver. Let's find some people we can trust. And like the politicians and the bankers, they seem, they're always wearing a suit, right? They always are trying to come off. They're spending a lot of money on ads to tell you how trustworthy they are. So you give them the gold. They give you certificates. Eventually they don't have gold. Their certificates are still floating around. They create more and more and more of their certificates. The problem that even they have with all of these certificates is they know that the certificates are worthless, and the more that you work harder and harder to get those certificates with nothing backing them, the more that they know they need to put that money as soon as they get it, as soon as possible, into hard assets. So that is the crazy, talk about a gold rush or mania, like Aspen was hit with a mania irrationality of the market. But maybe you get the point. Okay, maybe you didn't come here for a 30-minute economic education, but it's only, maybe I say things and it's just me the way I say it, and then I say it to you, and maybe it has some more understanding and we can get to this disease directly instead of all the symptoms. You see all the symptoms everywhere. All this stuff, I don't even have to name them. All that stuff that is going through your feed, all that crazy stuff that you can't talk about at Thanksgiving, or maybe some people do talk about it, the camps they're dug into. All that stuff is downstream from this problem. But let me pull up the thing about Bitcoin. It cannot be used as currency. Although that's because it's too slow. It's too expensive. There's another coin that I do like, and actually having trouble finding the live video of it. It's live like a block explorer that shows the block. If I can find it. Maybe it's offline. But I will pull up a video if I can't find it. Caspadag live. Well, what you have to have is proof of work. Proof of work. I just went into the banking thing. Maybe I'll do proof of work on another day. But proof of work keeps the bits out there in space that we all share. It keeps them finite. 21 million blocks in Bitcoin. If you are interested, you probably already know by now. So this is a different cryptocurrency. This is proof of work, 6,000 times faster. All of these transactions. But if we all started using something like this, and it was not able to be created by fiat, which fiat is another way of saying by decree, Okay, I'm going to have to find a video of this somewhere just to end this discussion on a high note that there is hope. I'm not a doomer. There is always hope in the future. There we go. Graph inspector. Okay. So this is a cryptocurrency. This is 6,000 blocks every 10 minutes, And Bitcoin, if you've heard about Bitcoin blocks, the blockchain, Bitcoin is a block every 10 minutes. So it is not profitable to mine this because we're coming into the crypto winter, unless you get the latest, greatest miner. But this is kind of my hope for the future. So every one of these can contain thousands of blocks. Maybe not blocks, transactions. I don't know actually. How many? That's kind of a good question. Let me ask. How many transactions can a Caspa block contain? Bitcoin definitely cannot. They're going with a Lightning Network, they call it, for Bitcoin, and it is not Bitcoin because it's not on the network. That's going to be it. I could do, I don't know, maybe if I get a comment that someone wants to hear more of this, I'll go into that. But we're here to look at Zillow houses. We're going to look at that house here in a moment. And just give me 1 second over here. Over here. Internet. Okay. I just need to see the chat. Where I would ask where to see the chat, but I'm not going to see it if you comment. Is this good content so far? Kind of. Chat, stream, creator, dashboard. This looks like something totally different. Okay. So let's get back to that block question. What is this talking about? A lot of transactions, thousands. It's going to get layer 2s like Ethereum as well. It is, let me see. This is coming along, this network, this cryptocurrency, pretty late in the game. If this was from the early 2010s or the mid or even late 2010s, it would get more attention. But now cryptocurrency is so hated and so advertised that it doesn't have the impact that it would. Memes are bigger just because they're promoted. And even things that are not very good, but are just a little bit better than what's out there, like Sui or Solana, get more attention because they pre-mine or they create an infinite amount, just like the dollars or the fiat money people hold. So this gets less attention because it was not pre-mined. It doesn't have an endless marketing budget or a political budget like something like Ripple, XRP, Foundation, whatever they call it. So the reason you should keep an eye on it, and it might come up from behind and snatch everybody's action, is because it is finite and fast. This is 4 times faster than Solana. The developers talking about making even this 4 times faster, or by the end of 2026, by having something like 30 or 40 blocks per second. This is 10 blocks per second right now. So because it's finite, it's the other reason why because gold and silver are finite, they always prevailed through everything else that tried to become the money. Because gold and silver are a storehold of energy, of economic energy, and because energy is finite, energy wants to be contained in something that does not lose energy. If you're putting you can see this for yourself, your economic energy, if you are exchanging it for grain and the grain is going bad, and the grain is being diluted in quantity. In other words, somebody sees that the grain is money and starts growing lots of that grain. Well, the demand of that grain is going to go down because the supply, well, it's not that the demand goes down, the demand stays the same, but the supply increases, so the price will go down because the demand of the grain. And that's another way of spelling out exactly how your storage of your economic energy would be draining out of that container of the grain. So because gold, on the other hand, and silver are finite, they are a good container of that energy, and they do not leak energy, so they are a good storage. And the sooner you're putting your money into gold through any time in history, through those thousands of years, even though certain currencies rose, they eventually fell. And definitely when you're near the end phase, there was never a time, like looking back at something like, what's the currency in Venezuela, or a lot of the other currencies in South America or Africa that have gone to hyperinflation, the peso. When was there a time in history when you should have gone from gold to peso? Like if your grandparents had a fortune that they inherited from their grandparents and you were inheriting that, during what point or how many times would you say, Grandpa, when you were a kid, or when you were 30, 40, 50, when was it a good time to exchange the gold for pesos, which were losing money, which were losing that storehold of economic energy? The answer is never. And the answer to exchange that paper for gold was every chance you could get. Though there would be fluctuation between the two, the hard money always totally destroys the weaker money. So this is harder money. Really getting into it here, I guess. This is just the do whatever live stream. I don't really have the viewers anyway, so I'm just poking around. Maybe you like this instead of Zillow. But looking at this, like I was saying about the L2s, that was the L1, layer 1 they call it. The layer 2s, it has 2 different organizations, or open source, or maybe they're not open source, but different code bases doing L2s, which is good, not a problem. Ethereum has tons of them, and Ethereum itself is slow and expensive and has no hard cap backed by electricity like this or Bitcoin does, though much different than Bitcoin. So this is a different L2. It actually just had a what's called a Genesis block here for their L2. It's here. You can see it. Not really totally sure what it is, what it means, but seems good. So there's going to be Solidity contracts, Ethereum virtual machine, covenants, escrow. Good for bots to trade on, you know. Claw bots. Claude bots, OpenClaw. Have you heard about this? Have you seen this? So the reason why I came here was to show that this is 94.88% mined, total supply, and they say never for some code on computers that humans made, that they would ever create more than 27.8 billion of these coins, but very difficult. Bitcoin was a good test net. Bitcoin has been around for 17 years, and they have not created more. It has not been torpedoed by collusion of a self-interested cabal. It has not been hacked, and this is really the next phase. Price looks terrible because it's the crypto winter, but we could look at the price here. This is really, you know, I'd say it had its run up, of course, and now it's back just about where it was before it got very much recognition at all in 2023. But that's the way it goes in cryptocurrency. So, I mean, feels like a floor to me. But the demands, the difference between this totally free market zone, you might call it, of the Caspa network, this network, which is going to get, I mean, it already has an encrypted social media. You know, social media site. It has an encrypted messaging app, and this is running on that L1. This is not even a smart contract thing. So when you give a tweet, like, that's what I should do, is promote my live stream here. Okay, one moment, please. So, yeah, just promote my live stream. Maybe I'll get a viewer. So when I click post here, this is going to happen. It's going to be inscribed in this network of blocks. Okay. And usually works. Should see it work post successful, and it's on your Block Explorer if you wanted to find it, and it paid a little fee there from my wallet to show that. But so pretty good. And this is happening during a time when social media is, one moment please, dealing with Google's extra features that nobody wants. You do a search and this stupid thing pops out of the side of the browser. Social media addiction. They're claiming social media addiction and harm. So maybe there's something to that, you know. Maybe parents should take more of an interest. But the reason for this all over the Western world, and who knows where else, that they're doing these lawsuits and establishing this stuff is so that you will have to have an ID, so that it will be something you'll have to ask for permission to, use a, hang on, I'm distracted here. Something you'll have to use a ID and get permission from the government or prove to the government. And we saw in Canada that if they don't like you, if they don't like what you're doing, they just turn off your account, you know? So I'm still trying to see the chat. Where, I know I'm such a boomer with this stuff. Where do you see the chat? Stream channel. It's not creator dashboard. Did that already. There's like no chat, even though I saw it before. Okay. I'm looking over here on this screen. I have a very large screen. Chat on videos. But am I on a video? Okay. I assume I might be able to see it if you make a comment. You think I might get better at this? You think I have potential? Who else showed you this? Who else shows you stuff like this? All these transactions in here. So these blocks you can go into and look at in the Block Explorer. Crazy. So much information being generated by this thing. And really the point of it is that it is finite. The quantity of it is finite. It is in time. It is a version of time that is immutable once the blocks are confirmed. So it doesn't point to anything else. It doesn't lean on anything else. It's not dependent on anything else for its version of what happened. I mean, the information that goes in there itself might be skewed, contorted with whatever agenda they had, but there's no going back in time and changing it. And I think the AI is going to get much smarter and be a good referee and do that thing. What do they call it? Oracle. Be good oracles and judges for contracts. So, yeah. How can I sum it up without going off in 5,000 schizo directions at once? So it's finite, it's decentralized, it is immutable, it is, let me try to keep it playing so I can be hypnotized by it. it is permissionless, and it is secure. Bitcoin has a lot more energy backing it, hash rate, they call it. But the hope for this is that when they bring in more volume and maybe even the bots start using this, which the capabilities will be there for the Claude bots and the swarms of the AI bots to exchange with each other, that it will bring in more volume and it will bring in more fees, and that will bring more electricity to the network. You have to prove that you used electricity to make changes in the quantities of the money, the Caspa, the CAS coins themselves, to exchange them, and then you have the nodes out there as well, which all have that same copy of who owes what to who. So totally decentralized. And like I said, any changes that you want to make are done with electricity. And so maybe that's kind of interesting, a little bit of